Let's bow our heads even as we pray. Father in heaven, we thank you in the name of Jesus. We ask for your leading. We ask for the prompting of your spirit. We ask that you speak to us very clearly. You speak to us distinctly. Let's hear no man's voice. May we hear the voice of Jesus. Not I, but Christ. Be honored, loved, and exalted. Not I, but Christ. Be seen, be known, and be heard. Not I, but Christ. In every look and action, not I, but Christ. In every thought and word. In Jesus' name, amen. As I always do, it was Jesus himself who said, "If you continue in my words, then you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." You can say an amen out there. I want to make to you 4 promises. Promise number 1 is the Bible is going to be the bedrock of our study. And the reason is the Bible means what it says and says just what it means. Promise number 2 is you're going to be enlightened irrespective of who you are. Promise number 3, you are going to be challenged to make the most important decision of your life. And promise number 4, our lives, your life and mine, will never be the same. Our subject for this session is go tell it on the web. Go tell it on the web. The subheading is finishing the work on social media. Finishing the work on social media. Basically, I want to remind Alive Nigeria. Before I do so, please, those of you joining us, this is an online session on online retreat by Alive Nigeria. Your vision statement, among others, says, as Alive, it is our vision to develop and support a Bible-based and youth-led revival movement across the continent of Africa, in which every Seventh-day Adventist young professional is a missionary. If you check quite carefully, may I remind us, the mission of Alive is simple. Our mission is to prepare Africa for the imminent return of Jesus. Take note of that. It's not just to prepare Nigeria. It's to prepare Africa for the imminent return of Christ through biblical, spiritual training and evangelistic effort. In there, we also have what I will call your methodology, so to speak. If you watch, the goal of Alive Nigeria is, our goal, you said, is to challenge African Seventh-day Adventist young adults to live a lifestyle of authentic biblical excellence, instill a missionary volunteer spirit in every African Seventh-day Adventist young adult, mobilize and support young adult missionary movement across Africa, create a meaningful impact in neglected areas. Take note of that, neglected areas. And finally, change the continent of Africa by ushering in the imminent return of Jesus. So if you watch quite carefully, it is with this background that regardless of what the COVID or the situation in the world is today, we are congregating on this platform, so to speak, a mediated platform to deal with some issues regarding outreach. I caption it, go tell it on the web, finishing the work on social media. Permit me to state today, I should have said, is there a nation where we are not going intentionally as a people? Is there a nation where we are not going intentionally as a people? May I remind us that when Christ was born, the Bible says Christ was born at the fullness of time. In other words, he was born at the right time. They say he was born, God sent his son who was born under the law or subject to the law. In other words, at the time Christ was born, all the variables that was needed to cause God's plan of saving the world was arguably in place. Those who must rule the world for the coming of Christ and the impact it ought to make were set in motion. The transportation system was in place. The literature culture of the day was well vexed and well noted. The needed technology that was needed at the time was in place. All the civilization that were needed, including even the language that must be trending before the message of Christ can go throughout the world, was in place. The Greek culture Hellenized arguably the entire world. It was at such a time that Christ was born. The scholars that must be in place were there. May I remind us, everything. So when the Bible says at the fullness of time, Christ was born, it means at the right time. At the time the Romans must rule the world, at the time the transportation system must be in place, at the time the literature of the day was well versed, at the time the scholars of the day were all in place, all the Grecian scholars, everything including architecture that was needed to cause the coming of Christ to have the needed impact, they were all in place. Then Christ was born. In other words, the return of Christ will also be at the fullness of time. The time Jesus will usher himself into this planet, into the world, to redeem the world within God's own metrics and dynamics. At such a time also, it will be the right time. It will be the right time that all that is needed to cause the gospel to be in a state to make the needed impact will certainly be in place. Jesus shall return at the right time. That's why you read the book of Daniel, it says, getting to the end of the world, he said, knowledge shall increase. So when knowledge is increasing, when we see all that we are seeing today, it is an indication of the variables that are needed for the world to be ready to usher in the coming of Jesus, from technology to discoveries, to science, to you name it, everything that is needed to usher Jesus into this planet, so to speak, must be in place. We are reminded in Revelation 14, verse 6 to 7, that the angel was seen. Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. This angel flying was not just the angel flying with the medium that we know that is the medium maybe of books, the medium, you name it. The angel with the wings flying is also a representation that the end time message that will be proclaimed before Jesus will come will move with a speed, will move with a sense of urgency, will be a global issue. It will be so dynamic that it cannot be restrained, it cannot be contained. No wonder Jesus says, and this gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all the world for a witness, and then shall the end come. So for Jesus to come, the framework within God's architecture was to set into motion any technology, any strategy, any process that will cause the gospel to move swiftly, to move decidedly, to move beyond cultures and barriers. Anything that will be an obstacle to the proclamation of the gospel, God in his wisdom will take it away through the use of what we are about to study today. Our subject, we are talking about go tell it on the word, finishing the work on social media. You know, the coming of COVID-19 is not that which should teach us what we need to do on social media. It's just to reaffirm our lateness, our slowness, and our inability to leverage what we ought to be leveraging in this season. How do we go tell it on the web? May I remind us, when the radio was invented, for the sake of time, the church was hesitant to take advantage of the radio. When television was invented, the church was hesitant to take advantage of the television. When the internet came at its initial inception, the church was very hesitant to take advantage of the internet. Arguably, it is clear the church is almost always late. When I'm talking about the church, not peculiar to the Seventh-day Adventist church, it was literally the entire world. The church was hesitant, was in a state of inertia in taking advantage of God's framework to send the gospel to every part of the world. Today, there is a new media that has taken over the world, which is the media of, or what we call now social media, or the new media. Listen to what Ellen White says regarding this. And then we go. Ellen White says, we must take every justifiable means of bringing the light before the people. Do you take note of that? We must take every justifiable means of bringing the light before the people. Let the press be utilized, not just the press, and every advertising agency be employed that will call attention to the work. Let that sink in. Let me give you a minute. We must take every justifiable means of bringing the light before the people. Let the press be utilized, and let every advertising agency be employed that will call attention to the work. And if Ellen White was alive today, in every advertising agency, when she wants to use the press, she will strongly incorporate the concept of social media or the new media. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the facts concerning social media? Permit me to state it this way. As we speak, we have about 7.8 billion people on the face of the earth. 7.8 billion. Our continent is having about 1.6 billion people, second to Asia. That is about 4-point-something billion. So Africa is the second largest continent on the face of the earth. Follow quite carefully. Because this program is being hosted, organized by Alive Nigeria, may I remind us, as at 2020, Nigeria is having about 206 million individuals. The question is, how many of this person are we able to reach with the method, with the approach we have been using all over the years? I picked some data from the digital global snapshot that was published about 3 months ago. Here are some of the facts we want to deal with. Point number one, we want to talk about social media. We want to talk about the internet. Are you aware that there are 4.57 billion people around the world that is using the internet? Almost getting close to more than half of the world. 360 or 46 million new users come online within just the last 12 months. You see, so we have about 5.15 billion people who have a unique way of using their mobile phones. Interestingly, ladies and gentlemen, about 3.96 billion people today, they use social media. Take note of that. 3.9 billion people today use social media. In fact, if social media was a continent, social media is the second largest continent on the face of the earth. Second to Asia. This is the reality. I don't want to waste time to deal with this with a search engine. You can just get this definition, but for the sake of the presentation, you see, social media provides a way for people to share ideas, to share content, to share thoughts, to share relationships online. Social media, literally. If you permit, social media differs from what we call the mainstream media, in that in social media, anyone can create. Anyone can comment. Anyone can add to a social mediated content, either in the form of a text, audio, videos, images, or even within communities, so to speak. So as we speak today, we can only appreciate the power, the need for social media, if we understand some fact and some dynamic of social media. Point number one. We are talking about almost 5.8 billion people in the world currently. Now, if you watch very, very carefully the diagram just on your screen, you will notice that as of July this year, you watch the essentials, the people living on the face of the earth. You see the ones who are using what we call mobile phones, 5.15 billion. We see those who are using the internet, 4.57 billion. We see those who are social media active users, 51% of the world's population, 3.96 billion. However, with these numbers of people congregating, and we are told almost 99% of those who use the social media, they access it just through their phones. In fact, if I were to be preaching a sermon, this looks more like a seminar kind of a thing. If it were to be a typical church sermon, I would have captioned it, "What is in your hand?" Referring to your phone, referring to the advantage of social media. Now, just for the sake of the argument, we're saying that we have about 1.36 billion people on the continent of Africa. Let's check some data. Averagely, 7.6 people, or so a person may have about 7.6 media accounts. One person may have 7.6, arguably almost 8 different accounts on social media. One person. Now, the daily average time spent by people averagely is about 3 hours. Every day, somebody will spend time. Averagely, every social media user across the world, from morning till the time they go to bed, within a day, they may spend about 3 hours on social media. Now, if you watch carefully, the data tend to point that about 91% of retail brands use 2 or more social media channels. Even the businesses have studied what's the leverage of social media, and they are taking huge advantage of it. So 91% of retail brands use 2 or more social media. I don't know about your church and mine. Then we are told, I'm picking from the same data source, about 81% of all small and medium businesses use some kind of social media platform. So even businesses that are just coming, small and medium start-up businesses, they are also attempting to leverage social media. Social media users, we are told, grew by 328 million in a year, just October 2018 and 2019. And the data seems to be pointing about over 426 million between last year and this year. The number just grew, and I can understand because of the COVID. See the annual growth in social media usage. 2008 till then, 326 million, it grew just within a year. We are told that just WhatsApp and also Facebook Messenger, every day, 60 billion messages go every single day. You did not get that. Just within a day, between Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, 60 billion people are literally sending messages. Teenagers are saying, look, our lives have been transformed because of social media. 81% of teenagers. So when you check carefully, when we are talking about the times in which we live, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the times where we cannot continue to use the traditional model of outreach, the traditional platform for soul winning. So Facebook, just look at the number of persons, about 2.6 billion people use Facebook. YouTube, about 2 billion. WhatsApp, about 2 billion. Facebook Messenger, you name them, billions. Instagram, billions. The world is whitewashed with social media. You see the way the sexes, both men and women, you understand. Look at the way women are using social media. Arguably, they are the largest consumers of social media across the world. When you check the continent of Africa quite carefully, you watch 77% out of the users of social media in Africa, they focus on Facebook. 10.9% use YouTube, and I can understand because of the data cut variation. So you can understand why some networks are used more than others. Pinterest 6.29%, Twitter 4.08%, Instagram 0.81%, and then the rest goes on. As at September, about 60 days ago, not just a month ago in Africa, here is the data concerning social media usage. Because we are dealing with Nigeria, it's good to know out of the 206 million people living in Nigeria, we are told 99 million are internet users. The question is, what is Alive Nigeria doing with this audience with the data, and what are the projections? What are we doing as a people? You watch it quite carefully. It's projected that by 2023, 3 years from now, the internet users in Nigeria will grow by 131 to 131 million people. The question is, in the midst of what we have currently going on, we are still obsessed. We are still seriously, extremely obsessed and using a huge amount of our time, our energy, our resources, still towards a certain kind of outreach. What a huge community, literally a continent, is just a click away from us. In 2019, we are told there are about 24.5 million social network users in Nigeria. And the figure is projected to grow to 44.63% by 2025. I'm not here for data presentation, but the point is, we are talking about how God tell it to the web. How can we leverage social media for evangelism? We cannot appreciate it. We cannot understand. We may not know the benefit that comes with social media until we appreciate the dynamic and understand the permutations in terms of numbers, in terms of opportunities that are bound on the social media networks. So when you watch Nigeria, for example, as at last month, out of the 24.5 million Nigerians, 55% of them are on Facebook. In other words, when you want to get a wholesale message to get to people, and you want to take advantage of social media, and you are in Nigeria, and you are targeting Nigerians, you want to check Facebook as your first source if it is just a wholesale target. About 22.05% use Twitter, Pinterest 13.5%, Instagram 5.0%, YouTube 3.7%, and then the rest goes on. This is the data about Nigeria. If I have time, we will have studied this diagram quite carefully to break it down to understand the very nitty-gritty. But since I'm just to give a broader highlight of this subject matter, may we go. So take note of this. We have more than 3.5 billion people that are using social media. So Facebook alone, we are told, has a certain group. I am interested in this, and it is quite serious to me. When you see what we call the baby boomers, that is the social media, and who are the users of the social media, which age group, those who are around 50 years and the rest, about the baby boomers, only 48 of them use social media. The Generation X, only 77.5%. The millennial generation, that are those who were born from 1970 something to 1995, 90% of them are using social media. So if you want to have a program for university students, a program for young adult, people who are from 45 years up to 17, 16 years, or 20 years thereabout, or 17 years, you want to look through this and know that here are the dynamics, here are the people, these are the percentage that are using social media. I hinted you 3 hours are spent. Now, watch this quite carefully. Marketers are saying, you see, the children of darkness, they are wiser than the children of light. So those who are into business, secular business people, we are told 73% of the marketers believe that social media marketing has been somewhat effective or very effective for their business. 73% of them. We are in business because of social media, so to speak. Then we are told 54% of social media browsers use social media to research their product. So people want to find out about the product. What they go to is they go to social media to check out. But guess what? The church is not present. Our life is not as effective on social media as it ought to be. The Seventh-day Adventist church is not effective on social media. You can represent it, whatever church you belong to. Those of you may be joining us. The world is so smart that they know where to put their information. So somebody wants to see the presence of Alive Nigeria. How active is Alive Nigeria on Facebook? How active is Alive Nigeria on Twitter? Because when you check the Nigeria demography, these are the places the young people are going. And our target audience are going to do business. But what is the gospel being done with it? For the sake of time, I want to run a little sharper. So let's look at it this way. We are told that 71% of consumers say that they have had a positive experience with a brand on social media. In other words, even feedback are being gotten by these business people using the social media extensively. Social media is being used to influence brand. People position their brand intentionally through social media. Customers depend on influencer recommendations on social media. You look at it. Facebook alone, 2019, we are told 500 million people, daily active Instagrammers, users increased from 150 million in 2017 to 500 million. Just Instagram. Now there is a link between them and Facebook, so to speak. Just within a space of 2 years, from 150 million to 500 million. Question: what message or content are being given to the users of this platform? Do we understand the opportunity? I premise this framework by saying Jesus was born at the right time. All the things that were needed to cause the gospel, his message to reach the people were present. The transportation system, the language, Greek culture, Hellenized the world. In our day and in our age, it is no more the printing press. It is no more necessarily television. It is no more necessarily radio. Social media is a whole continent, the second largest continent on the face of the earth. And I dare say, in the next 10 years, the largest entity we are going to have throughout the world is going to be social media. What messages are there? I don't know which local church you attend. What is the presence of your church on social media? Is there a deliberate effort to do a brand positioning of our message, what we stand for, to reach out to a certain audience of people? No, or it's just a place where we go to sit and we go to chat. Let me drive it quite home. What do you use your social media for? What does it add up to the kingdom of God? In this day and age, nobody can give an excuse why they cannot communicate the gospel. And I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven. Listen, there is no excuse whatsoever. Immediately a man or woman is having a phone, you are given the tool to become a missionary, to become a publisher, to become an evangelist. In every, no barrier. China cannot stop it. Russia cannot stop it. The Islamic world cannot stop it. Social media is God's open gate, an opportunity to take advantage of the world. When the COVID-19 came, we saw our nakedness. We saw our backwardness, the infrastructure that is needed to let the social media outreach, evangelism swell. We lost the opportunity. Why? When the world was thinking ahead, we were still stuck up with the traditional approach of outreach. So when COVID came, many people were now running. Churches do not have the equipment. The skills were not developed. And the whole 6 to 7 months was set before us. We literally, as a people, blew it away. I'm talking about the social media. We are told 91%, but the data, this 2018, current data linked towards 99% of those who use their phones to do social media. They do it through their phones. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the point we are making today? Look at this. Companies are saying they are selling on social media. They get 119% return on profit compared to traditional sales tactics. Did you hear that? I took this from social media today. So businesses are saying, look, if we used to get 1,000 naira for our product, now we are getting 119% more than what we used to get. The return on profit or investment is huge, compared more than 100%. The question is, what is the return on investment in terms of evangelism, in terms of outreach using social media? The conversation is even not there. The understanding is not there. The intentionality. Pornography is on social media. Robbery is on social media. Everything vibes is on social media. They do it with decency and unique excellence. But the people call with a message for this time. We go to social media to say, now, how you do now? You hear the latest gist now. These are the things. What is your intentionality as an alive member, as a Christian, as a believer? You name it, wherever you find yourself joining us on this platform or coming to get in touch with this message. How do you leverage social media to tell the gospel? You see, there is a power of the visual content. What words cannot do, what books cannot do, social media is able to do. Just with a click of a hand, in 5 minutes, someone can get a message summarized to them. There is a certain power that comes with the visual. If I have time, I will have gone into this a little deeper. Now, let's look at it this way. In the next few minutes, as I do this, Ellen White, we used to use a Ministry of Healing, page 143. Christ's method alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Savior mingled with men as one who desired their good. He showed a sympathy for them, ministered to their needs, and won their confidence. Then he bade them follow me. Now come to think of it. The world, he said, Jesus mingled with the people. In other words, the people are not, we don't go to do physical contact anymore. Even minus COVID, many people get in touch with people through social media platforms. So this is the case. If Jesus was alive today, his ministry success in reaching the people, what he will do is he will intentionally join some platforms. Jesus will be deliberate. The Savior mingled with men. He did not go there just for funfair. In other words, how many persons are on the platform right now? We are about 56 of us are watching this program right now. That is on the Zoom platform. Some of you are watching on Facebook. If every believer is saying, I am going to be intentional, I want to join a group. You don't go there just throwing messages around ruthlessly, but there must be an intentionality. Why do you want to join Instagram? Why do you want to join Facebook? Why have you installed WhatsApp? Is it just to have a social conversation with people? No, Jesus' method was that he mingled with men with an intention. Why? To desire their good. So while on that social media platform, you are looking for the good of that audience. So what are they there to do? You are there as a CID. You are there as a secret police, an investigative police, looking for opportunity, looking for strategy to see how can I sow the seed of the gospel on this platform. What do you use your social media platform for? It must be intentional. If you are watching this message or participating in this message, and you have not taken the time, or as for me, I don't waste time on social media. Excuse me, you are being counterproductive to the gospel. Let me say it quite bluntly. It is a travesty of justice, of justice to say, as for me, I am not comfortable with social media. I don't do social media. Are you correct? In this day and age, listen, the message is simple. Go tell it to the web. We do not have so much contact with people today. If ever we want to make an impact with the gospel, it's going to be through social media. Be intentional, be unique. Not just that, you even need to develop the skills on how to be effective on this platform. Go tell it to the world. Finishing the work on social media. Social media is where people source their information. How can you not be there? And if you are there, what strategic information do you give out to people? On your status, you name it. What do you put out there? It must be deliberate. It must be intentional. You want to communicate a message. We go through some social media status of believers, so profane, it doesn't elevate people to go to think heaven. Needless things. Baseless things are the things that are on. Listen, this tool that God has given opportunity for us, we must use to propagate the gospel. It is a place for cracking jokes. It's a place for nudity. It's a place for sensuality. It's a place to disdain and to embarrass God whilst people are searching for information. Social media is a place where businesses, people do billions of naira. Businesses have been done on social media handle. And there we are. And we are talking about pepper soup, and we are talking about eba, we are talking about egusi soup. That is all social media. Social media is a place where people connect. It's a place where you connect people. The second largest continent on the world is no more Africa. It is social media. Social media is a place people do not just connect. It is the place where people seek authenticity. People are even looking for validation. Everyone is around social media trying to connect. This is a huge opportunity for the gospel to be said. It's a place to influence. It has the power to influence the mindset of people. The question we are asking in this time, Alive Nigeria, everyone under the sound of this voice, what are we using the social media for? For the sake of time, do you want to take time to see what some of the basic way to begin to do with it? In fact, it must be a full present. It can be a one-week presentation on how to tell it to the web, a step-by-step approach to using social media. But just for the sake of that, you need to find interested people. You need to deliver quality content. Don't go and do any kind of backward thing and defame, and how do I call it, and defame a brand. If Alive Nigeria want to put out anything on social media, it must be classy, it must be decent, it must be quality, it must be uncompromising. Deliver quality content. Capture information. It must be sustained. Then stay in touch with people. As I was going right now, somebody sent me a message and said it was on a certain platform and went to send a message. Please, can we have a conversation about this presentation you did? That is what social media does. The person was in Russia. Social media. Permit me to end. I still have some few minutes to go. Let me pull it through this way. So I said that we said, go tell it to the web. Go tell it to the world. Beginning today, the question you are going to ask yourself is, what is this in my hand? Anytime you take your phone, you want to have a discussion, you want to make a call, you want to chat, you want to do anything, go tell it on the web. Please, if I have time, I will have dealt with social media and the Sabbath. The way social media is being used to defame God and the Sabbath. The way social media, what is this in our hand? It must be a tool we need to use to tell it to the world, finishing the work on social media. Almost every one of us have access to it. Every one of us have some contact. But what is this in our hand and what are we using it for? It reminds me of the story of Moses. In the book of Exodus chapter 4 verse 1 to verse 5. The Bible says, then Moses answered and said, God is asking to go to save Israel. Just as God is asking and begging many of us, go and save the world using social media, just as he's begging us even with this seminar. The Bible says, God said to Moses, but Moses answered and said, but suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say, the Lord has not appeared to me. Maybe somebody wants to move from this presentation and say, I want to use the social media to do something better, to do something bigger. But the question is, what if they will not listen to me? What if they will not? What if they will not? Listen quite carefully. Moses says, what if they will not listen to me? And God said, what is that in your hand? And he said, a rod. If God was asking us today, God's will, what is this in your hand? And the answer is going to be, it's a phone. What is this in your hand? Every one of us have something in our hand. For Moses, it was his rod. And the Bible says, cast it on the ground. So he cast it on the ground and it became a serpent and fled from it. And the Bible says, then the Lord said to Moses, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. And he reached out his hand and caught it and it became a rod in his hand. Look at verse 5 quite carefully. That they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared to you. So God said, what is in your hand is what I'm going to use to reach out to the people so that they can believe in me. Put it simply, what is in our hand is what God is going to use. So the simple message is this: what is it in your hand? Go tell it to the world. Finishing the work on social media, you are asking, how am I supposed to do it? God is asking you today. You don't need to go to a seminary today to be an evangelist. You don't need to go to a publishing house to become an editor or a publisher. Just with what you have in your hand, if you surrender it to the Lordship of Jesus, I am able to use it to perform mighty works. Guess what? The same rod Moses was having in his hand, like the phone you have in your hand, when Moses surrendered his rod, it was used to confront the Egyptian soothsayers. God is able to use your social media, your phone, a social media platform to confront the Egyptian soothsayers. The soothsayers we have in the world today, teaching atheism, teaching all deism, teaching and misinterpreting God's word. Just with your surrendered social media tool, God is able to use it to confront the Egyptian soothsayers. God is able to use it to turn waters of Egypt to blood. God was able to use the rod to bring forth a plague of fraud. God used it to bring forth a plague of life. He used it to bring a plague of thunder and hails. It was used to call the east wind that blew in the plague of locusts. The same rod Moses surrendered to God, it was used to part the Red Sea. It was used to let the Red Sea come together to destroy Pharaoh and the armies, the greatest military might ever paraded in the history of the world. Just a surrender rod of Moses, a shepherd. God uses to make wonders. Moses surrendered his rod. Today, I want you to surrender your rod, which is what you use every day. You open it more than the Bible, though you argue the Bible is on it, but we know we hardly read it. With this, you have all the writings of Ellen White. With this, you can search for any information. God can use this surrendered instrument, this device. When it is surrendered to the Lordship of Jesus, we can confidently say, we can go tell it to the web. We can finish the gospel on social media. Today, I ask you today, what is in your hand? It's not just a social devising tool. Before Christ was born, all that was needed to make his coming and the impact felt in the world, from the Hellenization of the world with the Greek culture, from the transportation and the ship sailing on the Mediterranean Sea, going down to the literature of the day, everything that was needed, including the architecture of the world, God permitted it to be in place for Jesus to come, for the gospel to reach all the world. Matthew 24 verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness, and then shall the end come. For the end to come, God permitted in our lifetime that Russia cannot be a hindrance to the gospel, that the Muslim world cannot be a hindrance to the gospel. You name it, like China cannot be a hindrance to the gospel again. With the internet, with social media, somebody in China during the COVID-19 was speaking to students from continent to continent, from place to place, connecting and building more social ties. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no more excuse for any alive member, for any believer, for any Seventh-day Adventist. You want to say you cannot preach the gospel? I charge you today by the authority of God's word. What is that in your hand? Ellen White put it this way, and I love it so much. If you don't mind, can you read this with me? I just want you to read it with me. We may take we must take every justifiable means of bringing the light before the people. Let the press be utilized. And let every advertising agency be employed that will call attention to the work. Let's read it for the last time. We must take every justifiable means of bringing the light before the people. Let the press be utilized, and let every advertising agency be employed that will call attention to the work. I dare you today, by the authority of God's word through this song, to the work, to the work. We are servants of God. Let us follow the path that our master had trod. With the balm of his counsel, our strength to renew. Let us do with our might what our hands find to do. The reference said, toiling on, toiling on. Let us hope, let us watch, let us labor till the master come. The second stanza said, to the work, let the hungry be fed. To the fountain of light, let the weary be led. In the cross and its banner, our glory shall be. While we herald salvation, or the tidings salvation is free, toiling on. This will not be done necessarily with a huge tent, with a number of people gathered. May we develop the skill. May we move out of this seminar track today. And the language on our heart and our tongue is, go tell it to the web, finishing the gospel on social media. Let's bow our heads as we pray. Father in heaven, it is ripe. This is our time and this is our season. COVID-19 was not that which would teach us, because it is abundantly clear through inspired writing, the various media we need to use to complete and finish this work. We ask for forgiveness of sin, for being reckless, for using life of ineptitude, carelessness, and foolishness. When we are to use social media discreetly, intelligently, uniquely to broadcast and proclaim your word, not to become nuisance to the people within the social media community. We will do it intelligently. We will do it intentionally. Out of this seminar track, we pray today, bless every alive member, bless every man, bless every woman, bless every believer, bless anyone under the sound of this voice. May we use what we have in our hands today. No excuse to publishing, no excuse to sharing your word, no excuse to getting in touch with the world, no excuse to connecting with the world. Lord, we plead today, let this generation, let this audience, let this people, myself inclusive, may we leverage the web, may we leverage the social media to do exploit to your glory. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for the privilege that we can be co-opted to share your word. Bless us until we meet again. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit abide with us now and forevermore. Amen.